Hello YouTubers out there, this is the Boob Wasteland Show with your host, Jerry Saravia. Now today I'm going to talk about Elisabeth Hasselbeck, who is one of the co-hosts for the show The View, which is a daytime talk show that runs from Monday through Friday. Monday through Thursday is a live show, Friday is taped. Now I want to talk about Elisabeth because I believe that at times Elisabeth seems to be putting her foot in her mouth, maybe more consistently than not. For example, 2-3 months ago, Chick-Fil-A was one of the hot topics in her show. Chick-Fil-A, as you all know, had a moment of controversy when the Dan Cathy, who is, I just want to get this right, the company chief executive of Chick-Fil-A, came out in an interview and said he was against same-sex marriage. This caused some polarization and controversy and outrage. And he said that he believed in the biblical definition of the family unit, that gay marriage invites God's judgment on our nation. Now, he wasn't specifically speaking for Chick-fil-A, he was speaking on his own behalf. However, Chick-fil-A had been coming under fire from gay activists and other activists as well for giving millions to groups that advocate against gay rights and even support ex-gay therapy. Now, the ex-gay therapy to me is laughable. I'm sorry, that's what I feel about that. Advocating against gay rights, bit of a problem. If it's specifically same-sex marriage, I don't see why this is bothersome to Chick-fil-A in particular, or Dan Cathy for that matter. Nevertheless, by coming out in an interview and stating this, it felt in a way like he was speaking for the company, and of course the company is involved in giving money to these groups. I don't know if they still do, in light of this controversy. Now, why do I bring this up? I bring this up because Elisabeth Hasselbeck was asked by Whoopi-Goldberg during the Hot Topics segment covering this Chick-fil-A thing. Whoopi asked her, well, you know, you seem to, I'm not paraphrasing, but basically Elisabeth didn't have a problem with Chick-fil-A. She said it was their constitutional right to express their opinion and to follow through, and that's just the way they are. This is a woman who, at least I thought, Elisabeth seemed to support same-sex marriage. So, you know, now Sherry Shepherd, I don't know exactly where she stands on that. I have a feeling she does not, but then again, she was a former Jehovah's Witness and all this. But anyway, the point was, Elisabeth Hasselbeck seemed to feel that they had the right to express their opinion. It was their constitutional right, and if they are not for same-sex marriage. And again, I don't understand what marriage, same-sex marriage, or any of this has to do with chicken. That's fried chicken, for goodness sakes. We don't know what the head of KFC feels. I have a feeling, you know, why does this even matter? But nevertheless, the fact that they support some of these groups and all that is an issue. So, she was asked by Whoopi. Whoopi asked her, well, if that's how you feel, how would you feel about a company, any sort of company, again, I'm not paraphrasing, that endorsed the KKK, that gave money to the KKK? How would you feel about that? And Elisabeth said, I would be fine with it. She didn't seem to have an issue with it. Now, the two co-hosts of The View are black. Okay? Whoopi-Goldberg and Sherry Shepherd, and she's telling them all this. Now, Elisabeth Hasselbeck, I started watching The View, and I think I've mentioned this before, since 2005. Elisabeth Hasselbeck is not for hate speech. She doesn't believe in hate speech. She, you know, had her little tirade with Whoopi over discussion of the N-word and all this stuff. Don't say the N-word, even in the privacy of her own home. I mean, all right. But basically, anyone that came out and said hateful things, a celebrity, a company, whatever, she always felt, you know, she needed to express her view that she was against that sort of thing. that sort of talk, that sort of racism, etc. But in this case, she's asked a question, hypothetical. What if there's a company that endorses the KKK, gives money to KKK, and she didn't seem to have an issue with that? Now that's pretty brave of her, considering her two co-hosts are black. And I think we all know what the KKK stands for. That's a hate group. I mean, if that's not a hate group, I don't know what is. So Elisabeth just puts her foot in her mouth too often without really thinking about what she's saying. You know what? I always think back to the author Harlan Ellison. Harlan Ellison said something that, in fact, it's in one of his books that I have called Watching, which is a very good book. It's about him reviewing films. And on the back cover he states, he says, "You are not entitled to an opinion. You're entitled to an informed opinion." Those are words that Elisabeth should take to heart. She is clearly misinformed one too many times. I mean, this past week she said that, a couple of days ago, as a matter of fact, that in the third presidential debate, Romney and Obama both seemed like they were the commander-in-chiefs talking to each other. No, they weren't. One is commander-in-chief. The other one doesn't seem like he's a commander-in-chief. He may act presidential. It doesn't make him presidential. That's just my opinion. That's how I feel. And then she said that the career highlight for Obama was the second debate. I mean, everyone feels all sorts of things about Obama, certainly. But to say his career highlight was one of the debates? No, come on. And now he just came out with a plan. Now. He didn't come out with a plan before. Well, excuse me. I mean, look, I'm not going to state my political opinion here as far as which presidential candidate I'm for or against. Frankly, I think we forget about some of the other parties that don't get money, but that's, for someone else to deal with, not on this show. But for her to say that, I mean, you have to give Obama credit for some things. To say his career highlight was a debate just before, potentially being reelected as President of the United States is, no. I just think that she just doesn't think before she speaks. And I have a feeling sometimes she comes prepared with what she's going to say, but she doesn't really think it through completely. That's how I think. I mean, like I said, she's a sweet woman. I like Elisabeth Hasselbeck, but an incredibly naive, misinformed woman. Completely misinformed. I'm not even that well informed in politics, and I feel that I know more about politics than she does. So what does that tell you? I'm not on The View. I think if you're on The View, you've got to be informed. Excuse me. You have to be. Joy Behar puts her foot in her mouth sometimes too. I'm not going to, again, I'm not choosing sides. Whoopi, at the start of The View, when she was first co-host, that is on a long-term basis, and she made that comment about Michael Vick, so they've all had their moments. Elizabeth, Barbara Walters is one of my favorites, just before we leave now. One of my favorites was Barbara Walters once said, she was ready to introduce a story, and she says, well, now I'm going to tell you a happy story. So, and then she went on to say, JonBenet Ramsey, and it's like, so they all do it, okay, don't get me wrong. But usually, not to the degree that Elisabeth Hasselbeck does. And I'm not saying that because she's a Republican. I'm not choosing sides. She's just an uninformed woman. Uninformed. And incredibly naive. And living in her own little bubble. I'm sorry, I like her a lot. I wouldn't turn away if I ever did meet her. I would shake her hand, and and I'm sure she's a very pleasant woman. Don't get me wrong. And I think she's a good fit for the show, technically, but she is grossly misinformed. So, and puts her foot in her mouth one too many times. I just had to say that. And I'll call her out on it as often as I wish to on The View. I like The View. It's a good show. It's an entertaining show, and usually it's more fun when you know it's alive, because anything can happen. And Elisabeth Hasselbeck just maybe seems to take advantage of the live thing a little too much without thinking about what she's going to say next. So, there you have it. And I don't shop at Chick-Fil-A, but I'm pro Popeyes. So there. And this is a Boob Wasteland Show with your host Jerry Saravia, signing off.